All right, guys, 2024 Acura Integra Type S. My buddy Zygrene, Fenton's son. Check out his channel, aka the Zy Poppy. We've had this car on the channel before, but we've made a few changes. So the newest things, we have this Milltek fully resonated exhaust. Damn, those are some big ass fucking tips. He's also changed the coilover setup. So Öhlins Road and Track. Well, let me start with stock. Stock spring rates are 4.5 front and rear. And then he went to Öhlins 7.7 front and rear. And now he's 6K front, 10K rear, because apparently Öhlins has done some more research and tweaking, and they say this is a better setup. He also added a PRL intercooler since we drove it last, right up here, but probably not gonna really get to the limits, you know, with heat soaking and such of the engine out here on the canyons. That's more for his track work. He does daily drive this and track it. And the other mods that are unchanged but are still notable, we have these VS5RS forged wheels. That's 18 by 9.5, 45 offset, 265 square setup. Kumho V730s, great tire for track work. Whiteline front ball joints with negative 3.1 degrees of camber in the front, 2.3 from the rear, but that's just from the lowering, actually. There's no additional camber beyond that. Endless CC40 pads with Castrol SRF brake fluid, which I think is the best brake fluid for track work. And oh, one thing I forgot to mention also, he has this Cusco front strut tower bar. And with that said, see how she drives. Now, as you guys know, this DE5 Integra and the FL5 Honda Civic Type R are mechanically essentially identical, just some suspension tuning differences, but he's done coilover, so that negates that difference. The seats here, not as good as in the Civic Type R. I wish that they brought the same kind of seats with maybe like leather or some other upholstering to make it a little bit more luxurious, but not as supportive, not as comfortable either, in my opinion. One thing that really impresses me every time I get behind the wheel of Fenton's car is how sharp this front end is. And yeah, they have the dual axis McPherson strut, you know, geometry that's new for the FL5 and DE5. But compared to those stock examples, it is actually sharper. That comes down to the tires and the camber changes in front. That strut brace as well is going to add further rigidity. This thing weighs right around 3,200 pounds, but the way it moves on these corners, you would think it weighs less. 320 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. The car does not feel slow at all. See, Fenton knows a thing or two about setting up a vehicle, and he has chosen excellent mods here because this car just drives so well. This does have auto rev match enabled, but what I found is that if you actually don't blip it at all and you go to the next gear, it is a little bit rough. So I guess it's like a halfway auto rev match, because you still do want to do your own rev match to really get it smooth and seamless. Which, I mean, I prefer, you know, rev matching myself anyway, since the auto feels like it's cheating and removes part of that engagement from driving stick. It's still a pretty soft, you know, not too loud of an engine, even with this exhaust. There we go. Sport Plus mode. Getting some burbles. Yeah, wow. OEM from factory, they have this trick LSD, and it just claws for grip with the front wheels. It is really impressive. Really, really impressive. Yeah, from a technical perspective, I'm always blown away by how competent these are for front-wheel drive vehicles. But you know, you still get the torque steer, even though people say it's eliminated. No, it's not. There still is a torque steer. It's reduced. But yeah, I mean, the inputs are excellent. The transmission's a little bit light for me, but it's still nice, tight mechanical, not too long of throws. The brakes, you know, the pads and the fluid really make this feel nice and firm, very easy to modulate. But for dual duty, because I mean, he dailies this and takes this car to the track more than his other NSX, I mean, it's dialed in pretty well. In terms of the suspension changes, you know, going from 10K to 7K, definitely a step in the right direction. The rear end was a little bit too stiff before, but on this road, I still want just a little bit softer. I do really enjoy how sharp the front end is, but I wish that I had a little bit cleaner feedback. You do get a bit of feedback, but when you're really pushing it hard, I gotta love those pops and bangs too. When you're pushing it hard mid-corner, you do get a lot of torque share, and then that kind of corrupts the feeling you're getting through the wheel, right? So that is just a limitation of a front-wheel drive vehicle. From inside, I mean, with all the sound deadening and such, the exhaust still is pretty quiet. But I do like that you can hear those crackles and burbles a little bit. All right, let's do a little pull right here. She boogies. You might think that this car could use a little bit more power, but then the issue with that is now you're going to bring even more issues with traction, and which actually doesn't have issues with traction, it's so dialed in right now, but more torque steer, and you could start having issues with traction because everything's going to those front wheels, right? So anyways, my friends, quick review of the updates to Fenton's 2024 Acura Integra Type S. Let me know what you think. I think this is a really impressive vehicle from a technical perspective, but you know, it is a compromise because it is a practical, daily drivable vehicle, and you're not going to get quite the same sharpness and sportiness because this car is doing dual duty. So let me know what you think with a comment down below. Visit us on Jabal and Cars if you want your car reviewed. And for those wondering, we're rocking the Lunar Pilot by Bulova. This is the second watch worn on the moon, high frequency quartz. More interesting watches coming up. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in that next one.